we have Mr. Joel Goldstein. I'd like to invite him to come up. And he has a background, who's not a physician, but he has that scientific approach, scientific mind through his background in information technology, because he, as an interested parent, had to deal with his son's accident.
I'm here tonight because he invited me and because he's treating my son. At another level altogether, I'm here because one of Dr. Golfinos' colleagues, Dr. David Harder, a brilliant neurosurgeon, saved our son, it's roughly 10 years ago tonight, on an emergency basis. He was operated on, do or die without parental permission. We didn't know that Bart was hurt. So it's a small world and we're here, and I say and I give my warmest regards to Dr. Harder. My son and daughter were born in Korea. They're Koreans, and we brought them over here and adopted them. And we raised them Greek Orthodox. Don't let the name fool you. I'm Jewish. They were raised Greek Orthodox with a Jewish father and name. And they're not terribly confused about their identity. They're very ecumenical. The kids, Nunos lives in Kekara. We've been to Greece many times. And Catalaveno ligo elenika, ke milaudigo ala, then polygola. I'm very good with food and drink, though. I don't mess up ligo klasi with ligi bira. So, I'll try to be brief because I appreciate you've been sitting and they don't seem to give you a 7th innings stretch like in a Yankee game. Each decade, 500,000 Americans die and 2 million are disabled by TBI. These are astounding numbers, and just as astounding is the fact that there is no general hue and cry about it, about this staggering invisible epidemic. Brain injury is by far the leading cause of death and disability among young people. Everything else is dwarfed. We hope that Bart's story of tragic loss, grief, endurance, as well as triumphs, helps to put a human face on TBI. With our forthcoming book, No Stone Unturned, we hope to help build public awareness of this problem and to help launch a grassroots movement similar to autism awareness. The need is urgent because of, as Dr. Mazidis mentioned, tens of thousands of wounded warriors are returning with this condition from the wars. Hemingway, in A Farewell to Arms, said that the world breaks us all. Then afterward, some are strong at the broken places. Faced with a parent's worst nightmare, a car accident resulting in our teenage child's traumatic brain injury, No Stone Unturned is foremost a family saga, a life-affirming, sometimes hilarious testament to what a family and a community can do. We share our breathless desperation when, after a month in coma and 8 months of grueling hospital therapies, the verdict is in. The school district agrees with the hospital's assessment. Bart is not ready or suitable for placement back in a classroom. He'd be better off in a comfortable, safe setting like a nursing home. We railed against warehousing our 17-year-old son in a nursing home and fought time and again to win Bart the chance to struggle, heal, and make progress. We were determined to keep up the bar, to set attainable but difficult but attainable goals for Bart, and then raise the bar again and again. After all, who knows how far anyone can go? It takes a little faith. These bureaucrats are not so much mean-spirited as driven by statistical models of probable outcomes without taking into account the character of the boy or of his family. We also began exploring unconventional therapies. 10 years later, thank God, with high school and even a semester of college under his belt, Bart is a lively, charming young man living practically independently in his own apartment in the Albany area, about an hour away from where we live. How different the outcome might have been had we heeded the advice of well-meaning If there is one universal truth about TBI, it's that survivors need strong advocates. In the family, each of us, wounded in our own way, mourns the boy lost in the crash, even as we struggle to relate to the stranger in our midst. We witness Bart's adoring little sister's bewilderment in the face of his wild mood swings and angry outbursts. We feel the everyday torment that survivors and families slog through. The bonds of love and duty are strained to the limits. A year into Bart's recovery, his losses remain staggering. And I'd like you to, because you don't know Bart, think of someone you know, some 17-year-old boy, your son or your nephew or the boy next door. Please imagine someone you know. He's still relearning, this is a year later, still relearning to walk with a proper gait, to use his right hand for writing and eating, to speak fluidly and sensibly. Once quick-witted and golden-tongued, his mumbled speech lacks spontaneity, subtlety, depth, or humor. Formally in accelerated math class, he's struggling to relearn the times tables. Odds-on favorite to win class clown, he no longer gets the point to simple jokes. Once a point guard for the high school, he can barely reach the hoop or dribble the ball. Our book recalls the first 4 years of Bart's recovery. It's peppered with love and laughter. We know the healing power of truth, of both. But for Bart, what he prized most in life is torn away. Friends, girlfriends, driving, athletics, being the life of the party. People sometimes ask me what TBI is like. I tell them imagine crippling paralysis coupled with wholesale loss of short-term memory and other cognitive functions. Add a dash of confusion and madness for good measure, making for a global injury that diminishes every aspect of life. It's tough for survivors to hold on to their zest for life in the face of those hard realities. When the brain's executive function is damaged, just getting up and dressed and out for the day may try one's very soul. Anyone with a brain injury understands that the enemy is fatigue and what comes in its wake, confusion. If brain fatigue weren't enough, survivors must contend with diminished inhibitions and reduced emotional control. This inhibition shows up as embarrassing, annoying behaviors calculated to drive friends away and drive family nuts. Living with a TBI survivor is like living with a jack in the box. Crazy is always just a half turn away. While short-term memory is almost always impaired, long-term recall is often intact, making survivors painfully aware of what has been lost. This distinguishes TBI from congenital conditions like developmental disability and autism. It casts a gloomy, tragic shadow over the picture that slowly emerges for the survivor, who recalls often with deep longing his former life and abilities. Loved ones must deal with their own private torments. To this day, Bart's mom, who's here, suffers high anxiety riding in a car, even though she never saw the accident scene. His sister and he are yet to regain their old closeness, if they ever do. And I haven't slept well in 10 years. I seem to have lost the knack. We're each walking wounded in our own way. Years of therapy lay ahead. I'm going to skip this part. You know the therapies. Everything you can think of, especially cognitive therapies. And counseling. He had hemanopsia, so vision therapy, you name it. For young adults, the loss of their circle of friends is a howling, grievous hurt. Bart's experience is typical. Just as the fog begins to lift and he needs them most, his friends are in the wind. Buddies get on with their lives, and the survivor, unable to keep up, is left behind. This is very tough on parents, by the way, to witness. It's a long, hard road back for survivors and families. No Stone Unturned, which will be out in a few months, is a thoughtful guidebook for the journey, along with some tips on navigating inevitable pitfalls. For survivors of severe TBI, unconventional therapies are not merely a reasonable option, they're a necessity. Best practices of conventional medicine only take us so far. They often end at the nursing home door, or if heavily medicated at home, driving families crazy. Sometimes I have a lot of friends, obviously, with TBI, and their family I say, you know, the zombie craze, all the movies and stuff. We've got them. We've got millions of TBI survivors. We tried several unconventional therapies, guided always by the principle, do no harm. We tried hyperbaric oxygen, and at the time, most neurologists dismissed it as a waste of time. Today, HBOT is demonstrating great promise in a large-scale study the VA is conducting at its Texas center, 1,000 vets, and is also part of the standard treatment throughout much of Europe. One should remain open and alert for emerging and unconventional approaches. Accepted wisdom holds that the window of opportunity for recovery from TBI closes after about a year, or maybe 2. Yet several years after his severe injury, Bart took part in a crucial experiment at Columbia University demonstrating the brain's plasticity, which also restored part of his field of vision. The hemianopsia was rolled back. I'm not here to advocate for a specific unconventional therapy, and mind you, Bart's remarkable recovery resulted from a combination of conventional medicine and unconventional and emerging therapies. It took him 2 extra years to graduate high school. He was a senior for 3 years. Gradually mainstreaming from special ed to regular classes, then a short abortive stint in college, followed by a couple of years of cognitive therapy. Thank God he's made new friends. We visit him every Sunday. We often go shopping together. We touch base, and we help keep him organized. He's looking for a part-time job. He had one. He was laid off. Of course, there's no royal road to recovery. It's slow, tortuous, backsliding, unpredictable. Just when you think you can relax, Jack springs out of the box. Bart seems pretty normal, but still suffers from unseen injuries. Today, if you saw him here, if he was here, he'd say he's going for baklava, but he'll come back with spanakopita. He misplaces his cell phone more often than others. He needs our continuing involvement in his life in a way probably not typical of 26-year-olds. Impulse, he told me if he ever laid hands on a bundle, he'd go to Vegas and blow the whole thing. I'm sure he would. Now, 10 years later, he is once again a very funny guy, thank God. Why did we succeed to the extent that we did? Well, first, we had a very fine EMT on the site immediately, intubated Bart, and medevaced him. We had a brilliant neurosurgeon, David Harder. Beyond that, we refused to give up. We left no stone unturned. We thought outside the box. We tried everything as long as it would do no harm. A lot of it we were skunked, so, harmless and useless. But others, like hyperbaric oxygen and craniosacral therapy and Boyle sensory learning and VRT, the vision restoration therapy, and supplementation a la Dr. Perlmutter, these did pay off. We did prayer that spanned the continents, all faiths. We even visited a stigmatic. Bart was blessed by the largest remnant of the True Cross in Kirkara. We saw community support. We pushed hard to get him off the meds as soon as possible. They dumb him down. We worked on a very long time horizon. Harder told us 6 months after the surgery that if we could put up with 6 or 7 years of hell, we could see Bart living independently. I'm grateful for that advice. He got cognitive therapy, and we're lucky that Bart is a sunny optimist. Just in closing, I want to say that survivors need strong advocates. Families also need support and counseling. Very often the other children are lost in the shuffle. We learned that later from our daughter. We need as a country to ramp up cognitive training therapy because it's mostly not available. Places like the Rusk Institute in Kessler, they need to make those best practices available. We need more neuropsychs. We need community support and grassroots organizations like Autism Awareness. The ancient Greeks counseled, count no man lucky until he's dead. Every family is but a heartbeat away from tragedy. Statistically speaking, chances are that 2 or 3 of us here will be crushed by TBI. We're all brothers and sisters in this struggle. If anyone knows new or emerging treatments for TBI, please see me afterwards. We're still searching, still open-minded, still fighting the TBI wars. For your part, I brought a list of additional resources besides the book. Books, but mostly web pages that are really terrific, depending upon what you're interested in. If you're interested in veterans, there's an organization that's wonderful called Remind.org. It's Bob and Lee Woodruff's Family Foundation. They're great. You're going these patients. You may not see them for their TBI, you see them for whatever they present to you. But you can help them by steering them in the direction of some of these some of these groups are just support groups, others are research groups, and so on. And I thank you very much again for this opportunity.